questions that people have asked in the comments. So we'll take a couple of questions from the comment section itself. There is a
Okay.
Mr. Adish Bora who has asked how to safeguard identity theft.
Best part for identity theft is don't share it with anybody who's not uh, trustworthy. That is the basic step. Nowadays, what is happening? I mean, just today only, Suchita ma'am shared with me one person's Aadhaar card. That means claim that this is his Aadhaar card, this is his ID, and he's from so and so, he's jobless. But she observed that the photograph on the Aadhaar card and the person, they were looking completely different people. So that is how the identity fraud takes place. So just avoid sharing your ID with anybody you don't trust. That is a simple solution.
Okay. There is another question from the same person. How to safeguard against ransomware attacks on office computers?
If office computers, that will be taken care by your IT administrator. For ransomware, there are a lot of firewalls and antivirus and malware, ransomware software available. If you are as an individual, if you want to do that, then download any antivirus that has got the ransomware protection as well. You can use that. But office level will be taken care by your IT administrator. If you are an IT administrator, then you can ask the question on personal query on our helpline.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So the next question is regarding TeamViewer and AnyDisk. So you had mentioned in your presentation not to install any of those. So there's a question from a gentleman asking why is that risky?
Okay, so if you are in TeamViewer on mobile and somebody has asked you any days for TeamViewer to download on your mobile, so he can see the entire screen what you are doing there. So what he will, I mean, what this fraud will do is they will say, हाँ सर अभी मैंने आपका मैं देख रहा हूँ आपका ऐप में जो प्रॉब्लम है आपका जो प्रॉब्लम है मैं आपको सॉल्व करता हूँ so आप जरा अपना कार्ड नंबर डाल दीजिए उसमें. So if you put the card number, then he will ask, sir वो आपका पिन नंबर भी डाल दीजिए, and he is copying everything. At the moment you are putting every detail, there is someone else sitting next to him. He's just copying everything and they are doing the transaction. So it's quite risky. So that's why I said don't download these kind of apps, especially if someone telling you over phone. मैं आपके बैंक से बोल रहा हूँ आपके मोबाइल वॉलेट से बोल रहा हूँ और ये ऐप डाउनलोड और फिर मैं आपका प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता हूँ. Don't do that. At the same time, if you are using it on your laptop or PC or anything, so there also I would say be cautious. Don't share your session details with anybody else easily. Don't do that. It's too risky.
Okay. The next question is from Anand Shirmali. Her question is all banks, RBI and government departments use bit.ly links to share or update some information from recipients. So can you please comment on that? The bit.ly links.
I don't think so. I had not come across any such link shared by RBI or any bank. I mean, why would I share any link for me to share my data? RBI is not a bank. I mean, I had never received anything in short URL per se. And if you are receiving in short URL, then please visit the official or authentic website of RBI or of your bank. Go and type the bank's total URL and check whether this information is really required there or if they are seeking the details there. But I would say don't click on the short URLs. No, not for financial transactions. Even if you have to share your data, then don't share it on short URL. Please type the entire URL on the browser or use authenticate mobile app. Share the data through that only, not through by clicking on URL. You never know what is behind this URL. That is the biggest problem in here.
There is a question from Mr. Hariram Chaudhary. He says, if I do not have a credit card, debit card, ATM card, and I don't do online banking either, but I have a Gmail account, still, is there a fear of fraud?
Gmail, if you have shared your Gmail with your, I mean, your email ID with your bank, so you may not get the alert what is happening in your bank account. But the chances that something financial fraud will happen with just an email ID are remote. But at the same time, if they can get access to your email, they will do it. Maybe somebody will steal your password. They will get access to your bank account, the bank number, and it's possible the email can be hacked. That is the only possibility. Otherwise, if you don't have any plastic card, then the question of plastic card fraud will not happen with you. But email fraud is completely different thing. It can be hacked. All your email data can be hacked. So that risk will be there.
This is a question from our own experience. A lot of complaints that we receive at Money Life, a lot of them are about online payment for online shopping. So there's a question that is about how to know whether the online shopping payment URL is safe or not.
I would like to clarify online payment URL. What do you mean by online payment URL?
The when you go to when you get these WhatsApp forwards which say this is the online payment for so and so company, a lot of these messages that are circulating around. So how do you know that this is the genuine URL or not?
So as I told you, you have to go to the particular website. Say I get a message from the Punjab National Bank that this is the URL and you have to share the details here. I mean, for other example, I'll share another example. There is, let's say Money Life Foundation. So somebody has sent a message saying that please donate to Money Life Foundation and this is URL. So I would suggest don't click on that. Please come to Money Life Foundation website and check whether there really is this kind of URL exists. Whether Money Life Foundation is really seeking donation or no. And if you think that it is there, then only go through the web, but don't click on the link. Links are not safe. Links are too risky.
I think there's one more issue over there, Yogesh, which is that how many of these online sites are safe? If you remember, we have an article where every single day people are posting about not getting stuff that they ordered. So you have a lot of these online shopping things that come up on Facebook. So people think that they're as safe as Amazon. I think if you can clarify that, that will be a little useful. What kind of online shopping would be safe and what you should not touch, even if they have great looking websites?
Any website, any shopping website that offers you something at a very ultra cheap cost. So just stay away from that. That is the basic rule. Secondly, check the reputation of that website or URL. Check the reviews of the product. If not satisfactory, then don't use that website. And basically stick with the reputed ones where there is complaint resolution mechanism or consumer can go and lodge their grievances. So if it is not there at all, then there is no point going to these websites and buying something. Especially what is happening is on Facebook or Facebook only, many people had created their own kind of systems and they are selling items on the social media sites, but we don't know. I mean, I had given you an example of that website where they were selling the Realme 6 mobile at just 7,000 rupees. But this website, when I checked on the details of the website, they were saying they are delivering only in Shivganga. Then why you are asking for orders from all over the place, all over the world? What is the point if somebody places order from Delhi when they are not even delivering in Delhi? They are delivering only in Shivganga. They themselves are telling you. So you have to check every detail of the website, which is not reputed, which is not known. Or you can ask in your circle or share among your group that how many people had used this website. There are reviews available of everything. So if you go and type the name of this website, you will find there are some complaints on Google also. You'll find some complaints. I mean, there are complaints against Amazon, Flipkart also, but at the same time, these two websites have a grievance redressal mechanism as well. But others, I'm not so sure of. So just be careful. Basic rule is don't fall for cheap rates or cheap cost. Never.
Okay. There is another question from Mr. Rakesh Modi. He's saying many times I email FD receipt to bank by Gmail account. Is that safe?
Email FD receipt to bank.
Yes, to the bank. I email my FD receipt to the bank by my Gmail account. Is that safe?
See, it's safe. I mean, Gmail has their own encryption level, but if you are sending the email receipt, then I would suggest him to convert the JPEG file, that's the photo file, into an PDF file, or put some encryption in that level, make it a password protected file and share the password over phone or send the password by a separate mail. So his receipt is saved. But I don't understand why he need to send the FD receipt to the bank. It should be other way around. The bank should send him the receipt, not him.
There's a question on UPIs and so many apps like that. The question is, how safe are Google Pay and Paytm app?
Basically, I'm not so sure about their encryption level, the data sharing part. So UPI itself is a flawed kind of thing. I know it's taken, it has become very popular and people are liking it, but there is no safety measures, there is no encryption level. So I mean, in fact, I wrote an article on this UPI encryption and who owns the UPI part in case of fraud. So NPCI, that the National Payment Corporation of India, which developed this protocol, they clearly say that it's not their fault. If any happens, it is between you and your bank. And at the same time, on this UPI based thing, so every bank was in rush in maybe in 2017-18. Every bank was in a rush to adopt this technology. In Bank of Maharashtra particularly, what happened is the Bank of Maharashtra has an app, and they're adopted this UPI, and somebody found an way to overcome all these things. So what he did was, in UPI, what happens is, you want to get money from somebody else, so the one message will go to that account, the bank, and the bank will respond to the switch, that is the PCI switch, that okay, this person has got enough money. Let's say I want to get money from Arvind, so I will send an request. So that request will go to the switch, and from that switch it will go to the bank. So the bank will say that okay, Arvind has got this much money. If there is sufficient amount in his account, then I will get a green signal, and that green signal will come to me, I will get money. So what this smart guy or the hacker did was created two types of messages. The first message was green signal, and immediately after the first message, he sent the original message that this person doesn't have money. So in that case, what happened is there were people who had this basic bank saving account, and all their accounts were people took out money from their account. I mean, these are very basic minimum. These accounts don't have any money, and still this fraudster managed to get money from bank using this simple technique. So that is how the UPI thing is. So I'm not so sure about all this payment gateway, or I mean this UPI or a payment wallet or mobile wallet. I'm not so sure about it. I mean, for financial transaction, if I have to pay somebody money, I can pay it through my bank. Why I need a third party wallet? That is my basic question. Why third party has to come in between me and my bank? Payment gateway, I can understand. They will ease the thing of transaction. But why a wallet or any other third party thing?
Okay. So there is a question which even I have also personally faced. This is my personal question too. So the question is it okay to allow reputed companies to save our debit and credit card details with a promise that they do not store our CVV? For example, Amazon, Flipkart, and Adani and all of these companies, they deal with our credit card transactions, they store our details. So is that safe? And a follow-up question to that is it better to use credit card for these transactions or debit cards?
Answer to your question is, all these things, they don't ask you to save CVV. Nobody saves the CVV. They will save your card number, and you have to enter your CVV every time on Amazon or Flipkart or any other payment thing. Secondly, if you ask me debit card or credit card, what happens is, in debit card, your money is instantly gone. In credit card, you get some time to pay back that money. So that is the only difference. But in any case, you will end up paying the money. But comparatively, I would suggest use credit card. That is a better option, because you know if it is not going through, or the transaction has not gone forward, then you can always file a claim. In debit card also you can file a claim, but credit card is much better. They have their own mechanisms, kind of thing.
There is a question that somebody sent me on personal saying we share our password on mobiles, in notepads, etc., and also on Google Drive. It's completely unsafe. Please do not do that. Please don't share your password anywhere. Don't store it on your notepads, and also please don't keep it. That was point of the presentation, but please do not store it anywhere. So that is a highly risky thing.
That's true. It's quite true.
There's a question about OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon and all of these platforms. So we store our card details with them. Is that again another risk factor? Is there a risk factor to it?
See, everywhere you share your personal details, your financial transaction details, or your banking details, there are amount of risk involved in this. If you are known, there were some incidents last year that the hackers had gone through this OTT platform, and they had hacked some more than 2 lakh accounts. They had shared all the details, and such kind of details. If there is any incident cyber attack on this OTT platform, then all your personal details will be available on the dark net. So I would suggest don't store. Even if you think that they are offering you a service, they are giving you a good service, they are reputed one. I agree. But what is the harm in feeding the card details again? What stops you from that? Don't ever store any financial detail or financial ID on any app or any service, whatever it is.
Okay, there's a person who has raised his hand, Mr. Krishnan Jayaraman. Can you please unmute yourself and please share? Okay, there are also a couple of questions that we've been receiving about companies like Mudra Financing and those companies. These are all very specific questions. If you have any more queries on this, ideally, I would suggest you drop us a mail on MoneyLife. Our website, our email ID is foundation@moneylife.in. You can drop us a mail there. This is specifically for questions regarding your digital safety. So we can stick to that for now. And also other questions like where does the stolen money go? I mean, again, those are all questions that are more for the police to do. Our job is to keep our accounts safe.
Arvind, I will just share some details on this. Where does all this money go? What happens is with this Aadhaar and other things, it has become very easy and dirt cheap to get a new SIM card. So if I can get anybody's, I can get it from anywhere. It's available, freely available. So if you can get my hands on this Aadhaar, I can simply walk in and get a new SIM card that is activated instantly. So using that SIM card, if I have a SIM card, Aadhaar, I can instantly open any account on Paytm or Google Pay or anywhere. So the moment I open that account, it can be used, it can be misused. So all this fraudster from Jamtara or any other places, they are doing the same. They are using the SIM card for particular accounts. Like they are siphoned off some amount of money from their account, in their account. The moment they know that, okay, this is my target, I had completed my target, they had achieved their target, even they are not MBA like you, Arvind. So they had achieved their target. And let's say after achieving certain kind of amount, let's say 2 rupees, so they have siphoned off 2 lakh rupees. The moment it is there, they will just throw out the card and they will buy a new one. There is no KYC, nothing. Nobody checks that. That is the problem. That is why all these frauds are taking place. I mean, in one case, we found one gentleman who approached us. There were some 90,000 rupees withdrawn from his account, and it was transferred from his account to the Paytm account. So this gentleman, he was very persistent. So he persuaded, and he found that the Paytm account belonged to Delhi, New Delhi, some firm through Delhi. So he approached Paytm also, but Paytm shared him that this amount has gone to this account and will help you. You file a police complaint. What is happening? So this is risky. This has to be stopped somewhere. This type of thing, that easy getting new SIM cards and easily anybody can open an account. So this has to be stopped somewhere. The KYC has to be followed very strictly. I mean, I shared one SMS from NGO. So if you see, it was a registered telemarketer. So if you can use a registered telemarketer code, that SMS header, for sending these fraud messages. So what I can try is checking. What is the action DOT is taking, that the Department of Telecom is taking? So what action the government is taking against these fraudsters? No, because they say that these are the telecom companies who will assign these codes, but who will make sure that this KYC is properly followed. These are not misused to cheat people. It's not happening. That is why all money that end up into some kind of wallet or to buy some items from these online websites, kind of things are happening.
There's a comment about mobile banking app. The question is, if I lose my mobile phone, there is a possibility of fraud as my forget password communication goes directly to my email, which can be accessed for the same mobile, or SMS of the same mobile. So can you suggest a safeguard for that?
For mobile protection, first thing is use a lock. Keep your mobile locked all the time. Use a specific code to unlock it. So you can use anything, the fingerprint or that design chart, or you can use any other method that you are suitable, like a Face ID kind of thing. So use that. Secondly, use a good antivirus. If you are using, let's say, I'm not suggesting you go for this, but just a suggestion. One antivirus that is Avast. So Avast has got a benefit of this kind of thing that if the mobile is stolen or lost the mobile, so you can control it remotely and you can lock it. Even Google provides that facility. On Android phone, you can go to Google website and Android website and say that my mobile is lost. So from there also you can access your email through your email ID. You can control your mobile. You can lock it, and if there are certain features that is available in your mobile, then you can keep out the data also. At the same time, some phone like iPhone started all these things, and it now coming on to Android phones as well. So what iPhone does, if you put your password 10 times, wrong password 10 times, then it automatically wipe out the data, or it will automatically lock the handset. So you have to go to the service center and get it detected. So that these kind of features are available in your mobile phone. So there is nothing to worry about this as such. But again, don't store anything on your mobile. No, strictly no.
Okay. There is a question that somebody has raised their hand. Mr. Sandeep Parekh, can you please go ahead and unmute yourself and share your question?
Am I audible? Am I
Yeah,
audible?
yes. Yeah,
Yes,
yes, sir.
yes, yes.
Yeah. I have personally gone through this. The OTP, as you say, that once the OTP is given, right, you don't, the fraud is not poor. And the OTP, as you said, as per the mirroring effect, was taken by those fraudsters. And within 5 minutes, 4 transactions were done, taking OTP from my phone. Now the issue is that the fact is that it's a fraud because I have no connection with the merchant vendor where the money is gone. But the Mastercard and the ombudsman have said that since the OTP has been given, your claim will not be passed. Though I have applied to the insurance of the bank and probably they, along with my police complaint, they have registered the issue and they are planning to give me the credit going to the insurance. But up to the industry, the banking ombudsman, they are not entertaining any complaints where the OTP has been given, though it is taken it through the team viewer.
Uh, I think you had followed the due process, but the problem again here is, let's say you are a bank. I am a customer. If I come to you and I said, okay, you had told me not to share these details with anybody, but I had shared the details, so you compensate me. Compensate me. It's not going to work that way. That's why I said never download any app or never share your screen. So sharing your screen and sharing the OTP is the same kind of thing. So it is your last defense. The moment you share an OTP, the money is gone. But again, here, as you said, that insurance part is there. It's always there. So the moment you report it to your bank, so your liability will come down. So if you are reporting within 3 days, then your liability is almost zero. So if you report in 3 days to 7 days, then your liability is decided by the bank. It's something 5,000, 10,000, and 25,000 rupees, something like that. And you're reporting to the bank after 7 days, then it is the bank who will decide the liability. But at the same time, RBI has directed all the banks, all the financial institutions to credit the money in your account without waiting for the insurance claim submission. But now, since you had gone to the police and you had the police are investigating, let's see what it turns out to be. So we'll have to go the police probe to complete.
Sorry, there's a question from Ms. Sangeeta. So can you please unmute yourself?
Is the government aware that it is not easily available and just following easy then because we are going so digital now, this is going to happen as the SIM cards are not easily available, so that fraud money will be the person will have difficulty now opening wallets and Google Pay, etc. So money will be at least not going anywhere.
I couldn't hear you properly, but I assume you are trying to talk about the KYC part. So that is a big problem in the industry, in banking as well as in telecom. So KYC norms are followed in banking, but at the same time, the same norms are not strictly followed by this payment gateway or payment system providers. So that is what all these problems are coming. At the same time, the telcos, telecom companies, I mean, they said is better for their KYC protocol. So government is aware about all these things, but what to do? Government control everything. That is the biggest problem. So that is why we have to be very careful on alert every 24/7 and be careful not to share anything with anybody, especially on phone calls. And if anybody calls for the KYC, then I will just say, okay, get lost. So don't share the KYC. I mean, that is the basic thing you have to follow. No, 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 not on phone. That you have to follow.
There's another interesting question that someone has asked. Is there a reliable database where a domain name or app's name can be verified to check whether it is fraudulent or not?
That's an interesting question. So you can search if you are looking for a website, then you can go to who.is. That is WHO's, that's a database. So on WHO, I can go and type the URL there, and you will find about who are the people behind this website. Their details you can get it. But whether it is genuine or no, that part is quite difficult to understand. So if it is a website, then you can just search, go to any search engine and type that website address and find that people are giving good reviews or what people are saying about that website. If it is a mobile app, then there are two aspects of that. The mobile app is being used for the cheating purposes or defrauding people. Let's say it is an Android app. So you can always file complaint to Google Play Store. If it is an Apple Play Store, so there also you can file a complaint. Basically, Apple has got a very stringent norms for this app business. So you simply can't get an app uploaded on Apple Store. There are very strict checks and balances. Android, they do have some checks and balances, but still some apps try to sneak to this Play Store. Its size is huge. I mean, the app size is quite huge compared with other, and there are not too strict checking there. But there also, if you come across any app, so before downloading, I would suggest you go and check the reviews and the ratings, and don't base your judgment. Let's say if you go to an app, let's say you go to a Yogesh app, and this app has got 5-star rating. But at the same time, if it has got a 5-star rating, then check how many people had given the 5-star rating. Maybe my friends or my colleagues had given me 5 rating. So if the numbers are less than, let's say, less than the total downloads comparatively. So if the downloads are 10,000 and only 5 had given 5-star rating, that means something is wrong there. I know, and everybody does the rating, but at least it has to be 100, 200, 300. So that kind of user ratings you see. And this applies to almost every item you buy on Amazon or Flipkart or any shopping website also. So it applies to everywhere. So go and check the reviews. People do write reviews. People do give star rating. So check that. That is the basic precaution you can follow in these matters.
There's a question from Mr. Shubham Agarwal. He's saying his credit card was used yesterday internationally and was there was a deduction of $39, and this was without his consent and without asking for an OTP. So what can he do for this? What can be his redressal?
Immediately he has to go to the bank and file a complaint in writing, get an acknowledgement. So yesterday it happened, so he already lost one. So tomorrow he has to go and file a complaint immediately. That is the first thing he can do. And let's see how the bank deals with it. If he reports within 3 days, then the bank will reverse the money, most probably.
In connection to that, there is another question that we've received. Somebody has shared that I remember reading somewhere that customer, when they have a problem with their debit or credit card because of poor banking services, they can lodge a complaint. And for every single delay in addressing the issue from the bank's end, that would result in the bank paying ₹100 to the consumer. So is this true?
This is true. This is true. The RBI has given these directions, but there are certain conditions for that. You have to file the complaint within the prescribed time limit, and if your complaint is not resolved within that time frame, let's say it's 90 days time frame is given. So if your complaint is not resolved in 90 days, then the bank is mandated to pay you a penalty of 100 rupees per day.
Yogesh, I'm sharing our article from 2011 on this. I've shared it
Yes,
with that
ma'am.
person. I'm sharing it with everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, just in connection with with what ma'am had shared, you can also check out our website, moneylife.in. And if you Google, we have written a lot of stories on a lot of redressal that has happened through the banking ombudsman, and a lot of those stories also. So that should also give you a certain amount of guidance. There's another question that some quick guidelines to safeguard our elders from social engineering frauds, and how do we know screen sharing is on, and so on and so forth. Questions for the elders: how can they safeguard and how can they be more cautious?
They have to follow the same routine what I had told. Don't share anything on. Even if somebody is saying that, okay, I'm a friend of your son or I'm friend of your daughter and we studied together, so don't force these things. So that is the basic thing. I mean, no dealing with yours unless and until you have that person in front of you. So that is the basic precaution they can take. And elders nowadays it is become a norm to use smartphones. But if you are not comfortable with smartphones, so I would suggest use a basic keypad phone, because you will get the alert, SMS alert, or details of your transaction in your account in any case in SMS. But if you are using a smartphone, then you have to learn how to use it, how to follow the safety practices. That is the only way.
So, a couple of people have mentioned that they have received messages from Walmart and other companies offering them $100 gift card. That is fake. That was one of the points that Yogesh sir had covered in his presentation. Companies don't normally go around sharing or giving out gift cards and $100 just out of nowhere. So if you get a message like that, most likely it is fake, unless you have opted for a scheme where they're doing that. So ideally, you can check that, and then that would be a good way. Uh, we have a couple. We have a lot of questions specifically on Aadhaar and how Aadhaar is being used for KYC and questions surrounding that. So if you can just speak for a couple of minutes on that, about Aadhaar and the whole KYC compulsion that they do.
Basically, what is wrong with Aadhaar is that it's used for KYC. I mean, I wrote one article based on even today, UIDAI, that is the Unique Identification Authority, which gives all these numbers, these unique ID numbers, so-called unique ID numbers. So they themselves say that can't be used for as an authorized proof of residence or identification. That is first. Secondly, if you are using Aadhaar everywhere, so it can be easily misused. It can be copied n number of times, and anybody can use it. So just the example I shared, what ma'am has gone through. So there are a lot of cases. I mean, in one case, what happened is this. Just it came in newspapers. So what happened is this person requested his friend that I want to join a new job, and for that job as a delivery person, I will need a bike. And to get the bike, I need some documents, and I don't have the documents because I had left it in my village. So can you share your documents so that I can just buy this bike and then join this job? So this person, believing that this is a friend and it's a new friend, although, so he gave his Aadhaar card and PAN number to this person. So this person used the same. He changed the Aadhaar photo on the Aadhaar card, and he got the job. He gave his address, detail, everything. And on first day, he took some more than 100 parcels for delivery and just vanished. So it can be easily done. Aadhaar has become an biggest instrument or for fraudsters. It can be used anywhere, and people think it is genuine. No, it is not genuine. It can be used. I mean, there is no checks and balances. Let's say if you go to any website and they ask you for, and you put any number there, it get accepted, because nobody is doing the back check whether the person this particular number to this particular person. Very rarely it's happening. So that is why I say I don't believe in this Aadhaar or Aadhaar used for KYC, especially because it can be anything. It anybody can get it. If you pay some money, let's say for this, sometime what happened is these migrants who were allowed to go to their hometown or villages. So many migrants in Mumbai and Delhi, they faced an issue because their address, resident address, what they had given was from Mumbai and Delhi. So in that cases, the GRP, that the police who were there on the duty at railway station, so simply told it, oh, तुम तो दिल्ली का आदमी है, इधर तो तुम्हारा दिल्ली का एड्रेस है, तुम गाँव जाने का. सेम थिंग हैपेंड इन मुंबई. अरे तू तो मुंबई का, तू तो बांद्रा में रहता है, तू कहाँ जा रहा है, कहाँ गांव में जा रहा है? गांव में तुम्हारा कोई नहीं है, तुम्हारा पता तो इधर का ही है. सो दिस शोज हाउ इजीली इट कैन बी यूज्ड और मिसयूज्ड. सो stay away from Aadhaar.
Somebody has asked a question that where can we send an alert for spurious calls which we receive, where the caller assures that he'll call us back. So this actually I can also share. I had once lost some money in my Ola, and I had to search for a number. And when I went on the website, I found some completely random number, and it turned out to be a fraud. And that guy kept asking me कि आपका details वगैरह दो. So when he kept asking me for details, I realized it was a fake number. So I disconnected that call, and then what I did after that was I called up the proper Ola number from their website. And there I mentioned that something of this sort has happened. So can you please look into it? So they normally assure that they'll check it out. So ideally, one way is you can directly go to the website, call the company's landline and tell them that something of this sort is happening. So that was one thing. And another question that somebody's shared is, so somebody's purchased something from Amazon, and he's lost a lot of money on that. And he's already made the complaint to the cyber police and to Amazon, both of them. But he has not gotten any response. So can you please guide what are the next steps that he can take?
He can file he can go to the consumer court. That is the possible step for him. But again, you have to make sure that you make Amazon also a party in your case. That is very important. Otherwise, what happens is we try to make the seller the party, but not the platform. And during the hearing, the lawyer from the seller will say, but we are just seller. We have sold it on Amazon, not made Amazon a party. So why it was not done? We received order from Amazon. That is what the stand they will take. So make sure that you make party to everybody.
There is a gentleman named Yogesh who is asking a question. So Yogesh ji, can you please ask Yogesh sir your question? I've unmuted you. Can you please go ahead?
Yeah, hi, this is Yogesh from Noida. So I had a useful suggestion regarding the OTP safety. I'll just take a moment to briefly explain the context. So whenever we receive the OTP, we all see that it's there on the lock screen. The OTP itself is very much visible. So what I have done in my case and in my family members as much as I can do is that there is a setting in Android phones, especially must be for iPhones as well, that you can hide the sensitive information from the lock screen. So what happens is that if your phone is locked, either eventually, unfortunately, it gets lost at some times, or somebody is overseeing it. So as long as the phone is locked, you would not be able to see the OTP. You can only see the OTP after unlocking the phone, which requires your fingerprint or password. So I thought that's a useful suggestion for preventing onlookers, overseeing people and lost phone cases to prevent people from seeing the OTP.
Yeah, that's a useful suggestion, Yogesh.
There's another question from Mr. Sampath Mani. Sampath ji, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, I just one of my colleague has withdrawn ATM some 8,000 rupees, and he got only 3,500 rupees actually. So what's the process we need to follow? The banks are closed now, so what normally should be done?
He can go to the website of the bank. There he will find the consumer redressal solution. So he can file a complaint online immediately. Plus the bank has given a customer service number, so you can register a complaint there also. But beside that, I would suggest it should be in writing. Send an email to the branch address, so and so is the timing, and I got so and so. And if it is not the same bank of his, and he has used some other bank's ATM machine. So you have to send an email to that other bank also and ask them to preserve the video footage so that it can establish that even if he has asked for more money, he received less money. So that can be established there. He has to report it immediately.
There's a question from Mr. Somil Mahulkar. Can you please unmute yourself and pose your question?
Once a year back, my credit card was hacked in some overseas country when I was here in Mumbai. That was around 10:30 night. And then when I wanted to complain to the bank, I got number one, number two, and there were so many messages. By the time I could complete the phone, I got another transaction taking place. Is there any way the banks can have some shortcut method by which we can complain about the frauds that is taking place?
Okay, the best shortcut is use the bank's authentic application, that the mobile app. So on mobile app, you can immediately block your card. That is first. Secondly, from the mobile phone, you can lodge your complaint also. Or if you go to the website of the bank, you can do all your you can do the reporting also there instead of wasting your time on calling. That's why I had not made anything about the calling customer service care numbers. I had not mentioned in my presentation. I had said file a written complaint. It should be in writing, their email or by post or any other method, but it should be in writing. Something has to be there as a concrete evidence that you had filed a complaint.
There's a question from Mr. Sudhir Bal. Sudhirji, can you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Actually, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Actually, you have mentioned Aadhaar is a problem and you should not submit Aadhaar. I don't think that is correct because Aadhaar has been banned to be used for verification by Honorable Supreme Court. And if that is a problem with all other documents that you submit for either identity or address. So I feel you're giving a wrong impression about Aadhaar. Aadhaar per se is not the problem. It's a very good way of verification if it is permitted. In this case, it is not permitted.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt in the middle, but I'm going to have to request you to take this Aadhaar discussion later on because this question is primarily on.
No, my question is
I
there
think
any
you should
other?
allow Yogesh to answer it. Mr. Bal, we have a different view on Aadhaar. I think Yogesh should answer this question.
No, my just thing is what other method you suggest? That is my question.
So there is a reason why we say this, because we say don't confuse the two different kinds of authentication. I think Yogesh will answer the question.
Yes, when Aadhaar, the first thing is that Aadhaar is just a number. Whether it's unique or no, it's not clear. You can use that number anywhere. Anybody can use anybody's number. There is no checks and balances. At the same time, you can procure Aadhaar by just paying some money. At the same time, if you have to buy, and now they had made the PAN card the same thing, but if you have to get a driving license, so you have to go there and verify yourself. You have to give the driving test. There are some checks and balances to verify that you are the same person or claiming you to be. But in Aadhaar, it's not the case. You can go to any center, say that I am so and so, these are documents, these are my basic things, and you will get an Aadhaar number. But nobody is going to cross-check it. That is the problem here. And it can be easily manipulated, easily used for defraud people. It can be used different ways.
Okay. There's a question from Mr. R. So can you please unmute yourself and share your question? Okay, I think Mr. R is not here. There's a question from Mr. Galaxy A50. Can you please also state your name and unmute yourself?
Hello, good evening. My name is Eldos, and thanks Moneylife for the session. So my question is just to understand if a fraudster gets my Aadhaar card or any ID card, can you take a duplicate SIM while my primary number is active?
Yes, very much. And why only one SIM? You can go any number of SIMs on your name. That's quite easy. It's too easy, too dirt cheap kind of thing. You can just walk into different shops and get a SIM card on your name. and you will never know. Somebody is using Aadhaar in a SIM card. I used your Aadhaar for getting a new SIM card, unless and there is some fraud case happened, and when the police come knocking to your door.
Okay. So I think we've taken a lot of questions, and I can see there are still a lot more questions coming, but I'm going to have to request that we'll have to take it offline. We've shared our email ID. My colleague has shared the email ID. So if you have any more questions regarding this, you can definitely share an email with us. You can also check out our credit helpline and our legal helpline. So with that, we've come to the end of the session. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank Yogesh, sir. Thanks a lot for the wonderful presentation, sir. It was a very detailed presentation covering all the aspects, and also thank you for taking so many of our questions. And thank you all the participants for attending as well today. And thank you once again. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.